Okay, hi there. Today is going to be a little bit of a longer video, so I'll just jump right into it. Today I'm going to be talking about the luxury pipeline. So, how you can go from buying basically into fashion or fragrances or jewelry and then go down the rabbit hole into buying all kinds of random things that you're not actually into, but you just don't know how to stop buying. And also how that tangentially relates to shopping addiction and sort of my personal experience with these things. So I'm going to sort of detail in a sort of narrative format. So I think that for me personally, I started by just wanting to dress better. And slowly I started to fall in love with fashion itself. So not just dressing to impress other people, but dressing genuinely for myself as a form of artistic expression. And I think that that love for fashion will never change. But what has happened is that love for fashion has turned into something else. So I still really love fashion, but now I started getting addicted to the act of buying, which was sort of like masquerading itself as like curation. So I'd be like, oh, I'll buy these 5 things because they fit the aesthetic of my wardrobe, but they have nothing to do with fashion. So for example, I'll buy like a really expensive hairbrush, like a boar bristle hairbrush, because I feel like my style is very dark and avant-garde, and so I need to have nice, silky, oily hair to match it, you know? And slowly because of that, I started buying or thinking about buying random things that really didn't add to my life, but sort of felt like they fit, but really didn't fit. And I think that this is sort of the trick of the luxury pipeline. So we'll talk about how I sort of started, right? So I started by trying to create a good wardrobe, right? And immediately with that, it becomes difficult to define boundaries. How many pieces of clothing is actually good for you? Now, in my personal opinion, I think that 25 pieces of clothing is more than enough. I think you can have 1 or maximum 2 pairs of shoes and just a couple of accessories that work for you. That's it. I really don't think that you need any more. I think that past that sort of point, you end up having too many clothes. Even right now, I feel like with 25 pieces of clothing, I have more than enough to express what I need to express. And again, it's about expression, not novelty, right? If you're continuing to buy things for the sake of novelty, I don't know if you're actually enjoying those pieces, nor are you able to really create a personal style because you're continuously rotating out your wardrobe. The kind of idea of personal style is that you stick to a couple pieces and you sort of create this really strong emotional bond. I think of it kind of like Pokemon. If you're playing with your Pokemon team, you don't continuously recycle Pokemon. You want to keep the same 6 Pokemon on your team, right? I think of that kind of like I think about my wardrobe, if that kind of makes any sense at all. And so slowly I felt like I needed to start buying more and more for my wardrobe, right? Past that 25 mark. And I felt like it would bring me joy. But what I was really hooked onto and was really difficult to sort of parse out in my brain because I was so addicted to buying was that I was not actually happy with the curation process or styling process, but just with the momentary dopamine hit of actually buying, which seemed benign, but was actually pretty bad in retrospect. And so the next sort of stage, I guess, of this process, I dub the creation of the fashionable man. So let's say you start to actually dress very well, people start complimenting you, stuff like that. You feel like you're a person with good taste. You feel like a tastemaker. And so that knowledge in fashion, it spreads to other things like jewelry or fragrances. And you feel like, oh, well, it makes sense because those worlds are so sort of tangential to each other, or not tangential, or so interconnected with each other that you have to invest in them. And I think that that's relatively okay as long as you don't go too crazy. The problem is when you open up the floodgates to buying other things, you sort of really speed up the process of buying, right? So you start with jewelry and fragrance, but then you go to cameras, or for me, cars, or boar bristle hairbrushes or new interior design, right? These are very specific examples to me, but it could be anything for you. And you keep trying to buy good quality, right? Luxury products, right? Because you're like, oh, I know what's right for myself, and I know that these things will last a long time and these things are good quality. But guess what? You start to become a mindless consumer. And this is exactly what the luxury market wants you to do, is they want you to keep buying, and they want you to go from one industry to another, to another, to another. And guess what that is? Now, it's LARPing. It's LARPing. So this is where I sort of get into my discussion of LARPing, which is a topical topic these days. And the idea is simple here. Fashion is my hobby. It will always be my hobby. Those other things that came down the road, I honestly have no interest. I just really got addicted to the dopamine hit of buying. And as I told myself, wow, you cannot go past that 25 clothing limit, I felt like, oh shit, I need to go buy other things. And that's when I started just buying everything in sight. And I think that became the fundamental problem, is that I had all this pent up energy about clothes and how I needed to get this dopamine hit. I was not enjoying actually wearing my clothes, but just buying the clothes. And so I became a LARPer. I started just buying things that I wasn't really super interested in. And I was doing some research, but it was relatively shallow in nature compared to my almost 2-year-long now fashion obsession. So I think that this can obviously be very superficial, and it is only based on the surface level aesthetic value. Oh, I think this looks cool, therefore I will buy it. But I think that should not be the criterion for buying, and I think I'll go through that in just a little bit. But I want to talk about some of the effects on my life, because it has actually had some pretty big effects on my life. The main effect is this sort of anxiety that I feel around shopping, right? I would have these episodes where I would just sit in my bed and scroll for literally 5 hours through a rabbit hole of random items. I would jump from item to item to item and list down every single thing that I would need to buy to feel happy, you know? And I would start with clothes, right? Because I do really like clothes, and I would just go down insane rabbit holes. And by the end of it, I felt like if I didn't buy, that my anxiety wouldn't go away. It was only after I sort of got out of my bed, got out of that sort of like daze, that I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I just went down this crazy rabbit hole of things that I don't need, genuinely don't need. And you might be thinking, oh, they're small, harmless products, they shouldn't be too bad. Well, for me personally, it was not the cost aspect, but it was rather the sort of mental aspect, that anxiety that was associated with it. And also, it's a slippery slope with cost, right? You start with, I don't know, car freshener, and you might get down to like a luxury watch, which is obviously way more expensive. But you think, oh, a $100 car like freshener diffuser, it's not too bad. Once you start looking for that quality, there's plenty of products out there for you. And so you will just keep buying and buying and buying and buying and buying. And so it's really difficult to sort of set that boundary, in my personal opinion, as a shopping addict, of course. So the way in which I sort of was able to think about it, conceptualize this, was 4 questions for yourself. If these 4 questions are answered properly and sufficiently, then you can go buy the thing. First of all, are you happy with what you currently have? Is your current condition fine enough for you to not buy anything? Second, is there an actual problem you want to solve? So for example, with the car freshener, I thought, well, if my car constantly smells bad, then it's probably a good idea to buy a car freshener, like if I'm a pothead or whatever. I'm not. Therefore, I do not need to buy a car freshener. Now, the other thing is, are you actually really into that thing? Have you done a good amount of research, and do you really like that thing? So for example, fragrances. Have you done a good amount of research looking at different fragrances, looking at all of your options, right? Even going into the science of fragrances, right? Researching different houses, etc. And then are you able to buy a fragrance? Because I think that 6-month waiting period is the most important part. Otherwise, you just become a LARPer for tens of hundreds of hobbies. You're just like, oh, I like this, I like this, I like this, I like this. You just keep buying, but you have no actual attachment. I think that's the benefit to having only 25 pieces of clothing, is that eventually, as you keep wearing, as you don't buy more clothes, you end up realizing, wow, I have built a really strong attachment to what I have, you know? Because we always think about what we could be having, but we never stop to think about how happy we could be with what we have currently. And the last, fourth consideration is, do you actually have the money? It's a luxury car, probably not just going to be able to drop the money. Luxury watch, same thing, etc. Right? So I think if you sort of answer these questions for yourself, you might actually be able to buy less frivolous things. And I think that for some people who are watching this video, that might be potentially helpful. And I think that this impacts people in different ways, right? So for me, it manifests as this extreme anxiety, and it was no fucking joke. But for other people, it might manifest as less bad of an issue, right? And so what I just would like to say is a precautionary tale, right? It's not that necessarily buying is bad, but for people like me, and if you, especially if you resonate with me, I think it's better to cut down on buying and set really strong rules for yourself. Otherwise, you can sort of trick your brain into thinking that you're gaining something that you're actually not. And so for me personally, and I'll make another video about this and about my finalized wardrobe, but I'm probably going to be doing a no buy for the rest of my life, basically, unless my clothes break down in some horrible way at the end of July, for clothes, accessories, fragrances, whatever. Because I think that ultimately for me, it's not worth it. And that I am so happy with what I've currently built. My clothes will last a long time. And I really just want to spend the time now not buying and continuously looking for the next hit, but actually enjoying what I have. Thank you.